Alright guys, welcome to the channel. This is Matt from Davis Does Everything. Today I'm going to be showing the Anycubic Photon Workshop software. I have an Anycubic Photon Mono 4K resin 3D printer. Pretty new to all this. I want to make this a very simple video with a very simple approach to using this software. It can get very complicated at times with 3D modeling in general. So we're going to use this as a guide for today. So this model in particular is, I don't know if anyone recognizes it, but it's a Ravager from Horizon Zero Dawn. I got this off of Thingiverse. It's a STL file. My wife absolutely loves this video game, so I wanted to go ahead and make this for her. So when you open up the software, most of the time these STL files, I guess when they design it, have no idea what size your build plate is or anything like that. So they build it a certain way. It's obviously too big for our build plate. Everything that's gray will not be on the build plate. The blue is good. So we have to fix that. So the first step is going to be, we're going to go over here to scale. Easiest way to fix this is fit maximum. So this is going to go ahead and put everything within the build plate. Easy enough. So what we're going to do now is we're going to adjust the model in its space a little bit. So if you come over here, you can rotate. It gives you the different directions in 3D space that it's going to rotate to, and they're color coded. So on the Z axis, the blue axis, we're going to go plus 90 degrees just to get it on the build plate a little nicer. There we go. Looks pretty good there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and move this model up off the build plate. You don't want to model just directly on the build plate. Typically doesn't go well when you're trying. It'll either fail or not come off of your build plate well when you're done. So we're going to move the model. And again, we're going to go with the blue axis here, typically about 5 millimeters. So we'll just put in 5 there. See, it instantly raises it up off the build plate 5 millimeters. So that we can have a raft with our support system that gets built in a moment. So everything looks good. Everything's blue. We're within the build plate. We're pretty happy with that. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go over here to support settings. Now, before I go there, I've already played with this model, and there's a hollowing feature here, punching and hollowing. Typically, if you have a large print that's going to have a cavity, you want to go ahead and hollow it out and punch a hole through it. We'll go through that on a different video. This model itself doesn't really require that. Whenever I hollowed it before, it left a BB size hollow, so I didn't really feel like that was necessary. You don't want excess resin that's uncured sloshing around in the center of a build, because your model might end up cracking down the road. There's a lot of things that can go wrong with it. So that's something to keep in mind depending on what your model is. This one, I don't think we need it. So we'll go ahead and move over to the support settings. I'm using the Anycubic brand 3D resin in gray for this. I'm going to keep these factory settings. They're made to work with the Anycubic resin. This is the different portions of the actual support system. So you have the top. These are the settings, the mid, those are those settings, bottom, and your raft. The raft is where the main support structure starts on the build plate. It gets exposed about 6 layers for a significantly higher portion of time in the UV light, which will let that stick to the build plate a lot better and keep everything from coming off. So we got everything that we want. I'm not going to, like I said, we're going to keep this super simple. These are the factory settings. Next, we're going to move down to our automatic support. We're going to let the computer do this for us. So you have 2 options, generate supports in all or generate supports on platform. This model is a great representation of these 2 things. So if you click generate supports in all, what that's going to do is that will allow it to build a support off of the model onto a piece that needs support. If you pick generate supports on platform, then instead of it coming off of this Ravager's neck up to his gun, it would come off the build plate, up, over, and then onto the gun. I've tried it both ways. This model really shows that off. I'm going to go with generate supports in all. So we'll go ahead and click that here. What that's going to do, the computer's going to work its magic. Takes a little while depending on your PC. And there we go. So we have this part down here is the raft. This is the part that's adhered to the build plate. These are all of the supports. This is what I was talking about. The supports are coming off of the model onto the gun to support that. If we had clicked generate supports on platform, it would have came off the raft, up, over, and onto the gun. So I've looked at this model a few times. I think it looks pretty good, except for you can tell it to add or delete supports if you want to go in and adjust them yourself. I think I'm going to go ahead and add one over here. So you just click until it will let you add that support. So that will be a little bit extra supported. Everything else looks really good. I think that we're all set. So what we're going to do now is you can either go back into basic settings if you want to adjust the model some more, look at it, play with it. But we're going to go ahead and tell it to slice. It's going to tell us, slicing is about to start. Please make sure that you've got all your parameters set before you do this. I'm going with the factory settings. Like I said, we're keeping it simple. Tell it okay. I'm using the Xbox screen grab software for recording this, so you can't see that it's bringing up File Explorer, but it will bring up File Explorer. You go to your thumb drive that should be in your PC, click on that, name it, tell it to save, and then while it's saving, it's going to go ahead and start slicing the model, get everything ready so that you can just plug and play with your printer. And like I said, this just depends on how fast your PC is, on how quick that goes. Up here, it's going to tell you how much resin is consumed, the price that you should be paying for this model, depending on what resin you have. You can go in and adjust the settings and tell it which resin you're using, how much you pay for it per unit, and your print time. And this is important depending on what type of model you're running, what orientation you put your model. We're going to run for 3 hours, 5 minutes, 41 seconds. That's a generated best guess. Sometimes it's pretty close, give or take a little bit. So what you can do from here is go ahead and tell it play. And what this is going to do is give you a sped up process, showing you every slice instead of having to guess. This is going to show you everything. You can kind of give it that last check to make sure everything looks right. We'll let it run through just to make sure there's no crazy spots. Everything looks like it's going to go pretty well. So we get it finished up and then we're good to go. So at this point now we can go ahead and take our model, go to the printer, get started. So I'll bring you back to that video and we'll go from there. I appreciate it. Alright guys, so we're all done. What we're going to do now is quick and easy. I'm going to take the build plate off, and as you can see, we have a finished Ravager. Turned out pretty good. So now we need to go ahead and wash it. Put that into the wash and cure station. I'm using 99% isopropyl alcohol. Build plate and all. Put that in there. Shut the lid because that stuff stinks. Preset to wash. I'm going to wash this for about 10 minutes. Alright everyone, this is my typical setup for whenever I'm getting everything cleaned up. So I've got a microfiber and some paper towels. The microfiber is usually for cleaning the build plate afterwards. I got some little tweezers and side cutters, a metal spatula, and some plastic spatulas, a squirt bottle of 99% isopropyl alcohol, and a big Tupperware tote. I usually use that just to kind of keep the mess down a little bit. So at this point, it's done washing. So we'll get the lid off, pull our basket out, enough to get a hold of our build plate. Let it drip dry a little bit. And as you can already see, it's a lot cleaner than it was. So at this point, we'll take it over here with the metal spatula. Kind of easy, and work it off the plate. So once we got the plate off, I'll give it a little squirt down. Clean it up a little bit. Because there'll be excess resin on top. You want to get all that off there. Once the majority of it's cleaned up, give it a little microfiber, because those paper towels leave fuzzies behind. And clean the build plate part real good. And we'll just set that off to the side, put back on the machine when we're done, and we'll give this another little spray just to get anything that the wash missed. And we'll go ahead and throw the lid back on this because we don't want our alcohol to evaporate. So we'll move that out of the way. And it's kind of important that you want to go ahead and remove your supports prior to curing it. Here's the finished model before we remove the support. Final step, curing. You want to make sure that your model is completely dry of alcohol, or it'll leave white, I don't know, fuzzy marks. It's kind of ugly. So after it's completely dry, We take the vat of alcohol off, put the little reflector in, and the tray. Get your model set up, put it in there. They're made so that it won't work without the lid being on because of the UV light. Switch over to cure. And I'm gonna cure this for 20 minutes because it has some tiny parts. And it starts. So it'll just carousel around for 20 minutes. The UV light will cure it and everything should turn out really good. I'll show you the final product. And there you have it, folks. The end of the Ravager series. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Davis does everything. I appreciate all of your help. Appreciate you guys watching, and have a great day.